Next in the list, which is being released in February, so literally like 2 weeks after the release of this show. So there's going to be a couple of busy podcasts coming up in the next few weeks. We have Captain America 4, Brave New World.
Hmm.
I'm kind of excited for this movie. I'm not going to lie. Like the more I kind of see about it, and um, the more I kind of like read about it and stuff like that, and just more clips and stuff that I see, I'm kind of hyping myself up a little bit. I think it might be good. Like they put out a TV spot there recently, and they literally name drop like vibranium in it.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of like, or adamantium. Sorry, they name drop adamantium in it. So like I'm kind of like, fuck, this is cool. So like, there's obviously border like like struggles between different like superpowers in the world that are trying to get the adamantium. Like so, that's going to link to Wolverine, obviously. So that's fucking cool as shit. So I'm
Hmm.
really excited for that. Yo, Griff, what's up, dude? How are you? Appreciate you stopping in, dude. Um, yeah. So like, you know, as I say, the more of it I see, the more I'm kind of hyped for it. Now, it could just be middle of the road stuff. Like I think the movie, as we all kind of know now, they've had like 5 reshoots. They've pumped in like some crazy amount of money into making this movie as well. So I think it's an uphill battle for them to make money on the movie, which I'm sure Disney and Marvel are probably freaking out about behind the scenes.
Right.
Like they've got to bring a big box office in to break even with this one because they've put so much money into it. Now, I don't know, like again, with how toxic the fucking fan base is now, again, I go back to this toxicity, but are there going to be people out there that are just like, not my Captain America, I'm not going to see that, I'm not going to go fucking support
Oh,
that shit. Probably like
absolutely.
they're 100%. I just hope there's not a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Again, I'm not a big Sam Wilson fan, but I'm gonna go see the fucking movie. Like, like it's an MCU movie. It's gonna set up some stuff leading into the next kind of Avengers movies, like
Hmm.
so I'm definitely down. You know what I mean? And like even just Adamantium coming into the MCU, like you kind of have to see that, like as a nerd, like you're kind of like shit, like we know the implications of where that kind of storyline's going. Like that's
Right.
going into mutants 100%. So like that's exciting times. Whether Sam Wilson does a great job as Captain America or not is yet to be seen. Obviously, we have Harrison Ford, who's
Hmm.
an absolute gentleman, and we love Harrison. Many amazing roles over the years. He himself is probably going to bring many asses to seats just to see him in the MCU. You know what I mean? So I think that's definitely a positive. I just hope it does well for them because while there is a good few projects this year coming, I don't think there's any kind of like big blockbusters coming. Like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, if you, I hate kind of talking like DC versus Marvel, but DC have a big year this year. They have like their Superman movie, the first kind of cinematic kickoff of their DCU, and it's a
Hmm.
big one. It's like they're starting with Superman, like it's a big deal. Whereas like the MCU don't really have anything on the big screen that's like a big gigantic blockbuster that's gonna potentially rival this movie. Like again, I don't care. I'm a fan of both. I'm gonna enjoy seeing both. I like having two things to look forward to, two universes to look forward to, and I think there's nothing beats a bit of healthy competition as well. It's if DC come out of here with a fucking blockbuster and it's like a big $1 billion like super smash, and everyone's like, holy shit, DC are back, or they're here finally, whatever. I think that just is gonna put a fire under Feige and put a fire under Marvel and Disney to just make better shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Oh,
that's what it's all
definitely.
up. That's what it's all about. If they can come out and be a threat, I think that's gonna be good for Marvel in the end. Because I think
Hmm.
I don't know if they got a bit lazy or if they got a bit too cocky, and then they were just like, oh, we can just like there's that sweet spot like 2015 to 2019 where I don't think any of their projects made less than $700 million in the box office. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like they were just like, we could do anything, So that's why we got Phase 4, And I
Yeah.
just now we know obviously that, and Phase probably half of Phase 5 as well. Like we kind of know, okay, that didn't really work. You got a bit too cocky. They're
Right.
stripping it. They're stripping it back now. But I think if DC come out of the gate flying with a really good project, that can only be good for everybody.
Yeah. Definitely.
100%. So like, yeah, I'm excited to see this movie. I think there's probably I'm hoping that there's going to be a good bit in it like that we haven't already seen, and a couple of surprises, maybe some cameos and stuff like that. Because it's been a while since we've had a big like MCU movie. Like, I know we had Deadpool last year, but it wasn't not yet MCU. I know
Hmm.
technically on paper in the real world it's MCU, but you know what I mean. Like they didn't go to sorry. Wade went to 616 for like 4 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Like, so
Right. Yeah.
it's not, it's like he touched the MCU, but you know what I mean? Like, the movie wasn't set in 616 and he wasn't actually interacting with any actual, MCU heroes yet.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't count that as an MCU movie. I know technically on paper it is, but this is kind of the first MCU movie in a while now.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping it's good. I really am.
Me too.
What are your expectations for it? Like, are you excited for it, or like I know
Um,
again we know you're a massive Hulk fan, so like, are you seeing more Red Hulk? Are you like kind of liking it more? Or are you liking it less, or where are you at with that?
it's okay. I think that they could have done a little bit better with the design for the Red Hulk. I think that they went a little too simple with it.
Yeah.
And they just stuck Harrison Ford's head on top of a Hulk body, which I think is very like to me it's very lazy.
Mm.
I think that we deserve a little bit more than that, considering that we've waited this long. We're finally going to get a Red Hulk. It's not going to be against actual Hulk. We're not going to have like we're going to have the leader not against the actual Hulk. We're gonna have the leader and Red Hulk against Captain America, which I think is fucking just the weirdest thing ever. And I'm
It is.
assuming that we're gonna have a team up with the Red Hulk, and I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just it's a little disappointing to think about it that way,
Do,
because
do,
it just yeah,
do you think Ruffalo's going to show up?
maybe for like a second,
Small, very
but
small cameo.
yeah, it's very like like what's the word? It gets frustrating the more I think about it,
Mm.
because I think that Mark Ruffalo deserves a shot to have like an actual like film that's based upon him. It doesn't have to be entirely about Hulk. Most
Yeah.
movies that involve Hulk aren't entirely about Hulk. It's about like the things around Hulk.
Hmm.
Um, and they need his help essentially. Like if every time I talk about Planet Hulk, that's essentially the thing. Hulk is
Yeah.
just there because he crash landed on the planet and he's trying to just do what he wants. Like he just does what he wants and wants to be left alone. Whereas like the world itself is having trouble because there's political unrest, there's war going on, and you got Meek, Korg, and I forgot the lady's name, but essentially like they're all like we need an uprising, we need someone to basically be our champion, and we think Hulk should be it because he's the strongest and we know that his blood also heals the planet.
Hmm.
So he's the one that's prophesized, but Hulk is literally just like just leave me alone, I'd rather just keep winning these bouts in the tournament or in the gladiator ring.
Just wants to
And
throw hands.
yeah, like all he wants to do is just fight and be left alone. Like he as long as he survives, that's all he cares about. He just cares about being the strongest and being left alone.
Yeah.
Um, and so like that's the whole point is that they eventually get him to reconsider and fight for them, but that's not until like near the end of it. You
Hmm.
show that like he does have some sort of, you know, uh, I would say like human side of Hulk where he's like, okay, well, I probably should help the people that aren't trying to hurt me. Um, so like when you see all these characters, like you see Red Hulk is a huge threat to Hulk because it's like, well, that's another me. Like I don't want to be less like not as powerful as that. I'm going to fight that. You see the leader is trying to extract the essence of Hulk and take it for his own because he believes that it belongs to him.
Hmm.
Um, which is kind of funny because like he like the only thing about the leader is that an explosion happened like in the comics where an explosion happened and it like messed with his brain. Eventually his brain started just getting larger and larger, but that's because he was able to retain all the knowledge that he has,
Yeah.
and so he sees himself as an omnipotent person. And so with the omnipotence, it's essentially like I am the leader, I am above all, I'm infallible, you can't deny me, I exist because I should rule all of you. And so I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get a very much scrappy kind of looking character. I don't know if you've seen a picture of him, but they've teased like a picture of him, and he's got hair.
I think he's in disguise for like that's my kind of interpretation of it. Like, because it's like you've seen him kind of like his silhouette or the back of his head or whatever in the trailers,
Hmm.
and it seems like he's kind of pulling strings and sabotaging and trying to start conflict. Like Sam says it in the trailers, like it's like there's somebody pulling strings here and manipulating current and world events, and I presume
Hmm.
that's the leader. And yeah, I'd say that's probably what's going to happen now. I don't know much about the leader myself. Like, do you think that they're going to go into a lot of what you've said in the MCU in this movie, maybe, or does this move into another project with potentially Ruffalo and another?
I really don't think they're going to do anything with Mark Ruffalo at this point. I really think that they're just at a
I've heard
point where,
I've heard rumors, but again, I don't know how true any of it is. But I hear that there's like a Hulk versus like Wolverine movie coming or
mhm.
project, and I hope it's not TV, but Hugh Jackman versus Mark Ruffalo, which would be cool.
Yeah, that
Um,
would be pretty cool.
yeah, and then I've heard like some of the rumors as well of like an evil version of the Avengers for like Doomsday, for example, where like we might get like Maestro Hulk in there,
Mhm.
so that could be like an eviler variant of Ruffalo, where we get to see him as like a Maestro Hulk, and then obviously 616 Hulk has to team up and join back with the Avengers to beat him. So it's kind of a
Right.
yin versus yang for each of these characters. Which I yeah, it's I kind of feel like that kind of trope has been maybe overdone a little bit, but we haven't really seen it in the MCU, so maybe I'll let it slide. But it's in comics, it's in anime a lot, it's in games a bit. Like I think even in that Avengers game, they kind of did a similar storyline where they go to like an evil world or whatever, and
Mhm.
is it the future? So I don't even know, but like I feel like it's been done, but it hasn't been done in the MCU. So maybe let's see how they do it, how they do it differently.
Right, exactly. It's hard to say, considering that like I really don't think they have any sort of direction. They've kind of written themselves into a corner. They did the big bad already, and now they did the big bad without introducing as many people as possible. So there's no reason to have all these other characters because you've already done like such a large take on the world itself. And Kang was kind of the reintroduction of the big bad leading into the big battle where we would essentially have more characters. Then we would have another Avengers situation where like we have different chapters come in, or we have like different characters from different areas of the world come in. um but it just never feels like it's going to come to that like perfect point of like, oh man, all these characters together once again. We lost Captain America, we lost like Iron Man, we essentially lost Thor, because I think Thor is kind of out of the picture too. And we don't have Natasha anymore, we have Yelena, and I don't even know if Yelena is going to be viable in the long run. We like Scarlet Witch and Vision are split off. Like Scarlet Witch may come back, may not come back, but we have Wiccan now, which is like, but it's like a very under like, I feel like he's overrated at this point because of how much they tried to like set him up. Um, it should have been something that like was a big punchline at the means of it. It should have been Billy Maximoff, and then like he dies, and then we see like actual like like Billy Kaplan
Hmm.
later on as his own show, and could just
Yeah,
call it Wiccan, and then
yeah.
be like, why does he have chaos powers similar to Scarlet Witch?
Hmm.
Well, we know you from a different from a different point in the universe. Like we sense an essence of you from the Maximoff family. Maybe you had gained some of that ability somehow, like, and just kind of explain it a bit more without giving it too much of a thing, because they really tried to make it all about Agatha, which I mean that was the show, right? But then they
Hmm.
killed her off, and then now she's a ghost. And I know that she's like, now that people have told me that she's been a ghost in the comics before, it's like, yeah, but like you didn't really give me anything to care about why she's going to be a ghost. I really don't care about her dying. I really don't care about her because all she did was have a quest for power. She was a villain from the get-go, never had a point of redemption until the very end, which I didn't even care about.
Yeah.
And even then the redemption was still like, it was like, oh, oops, I died. That's how it really felt. Like it was just, oops.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah, like look, I think they even reference it in the MCU, and like I was rewatching a couple of movies over the holidays, and it's something that you don't really think about, but like I've rewatched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just kind
Mhm.
of in preparation for this movie coming up, and it's kind of like I think one of the first things that Bucky says to Sam when they're both together is like, are the Avengers even a thing anymore? It's like the world doesn't know. Like I think it's kind of like subtly referenced a few times in different projects, but it's like no one knows where the Avengers are. No one knows who's in the Avengers. So like it's just a mess right now. I think they need obviously Doomsday to come around and to reform and have something to fight for. I just kind of hoped by now that we would have a bit more connective tissue throughout the projects we've seen so far. Maybe 2025 is the year that it all comes back together. I really hope it is because, I feel like the whole thing is just out of whack right now. With phase 4 and 5, we've had like a lot of kind of solo projects, new
Mhm.
introductions of new characters like Thor going off into space and doing his own thing, which obviously is fine. But I just feel like all the Earthbound heroes just are hiding or something. Like it feels like they're not out at all. Like like they could have easily put. Now again, it's probably down to real world stuff, but like, and I love not to take anything away from Wong, like, but I love Wong, right? But it's like for a lot of these things, like they could have had Strange doing it instead, and
Mhm.
it would have just felt more like an Avengers thing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's like I know Wong is a cool character, but it's like why is he doing stuff like introducing like Shang-Chi to the Avengers and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
is Wong an Avenger now? You know what I mean? Like it's like where's Strange? Did Wong take his place on the Avengers? Like again, it's like we don't know these answers. We don't know the answers to these questions. And like
Not at all.
some of these movies came out years ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Shang-Chi, I only rewatched it because I wanted to show my son a part in it, and we ended up just kind of sitting and watching the whole thing. Like I fucking love the movie, like it, and every time I rewatch it, it gets better. But it's like that movie came out like 3 years ago, and like
Yeah.
there should definitely be a sequel to it by now. And I feel bad for what's his name, Simu Liu, the main guy who played Shang-Chi, because like I
Mhm.
feel like realistically, he probably should have got a movie in 2024. Now, I don't even think they haven't even began filming a second film for him. You know what I mean? So, like, what the fuck is the holdup? Like, where's the second film? Like, I feel like it was enough of a success to make another one. Are they saving the character for Doomsday? Maybe. Uh, in that case, maybe drop his name around the place or give us a after credit scene with him. Like, let us know that he's still around. They
Right.
have like that kind
Exactly.
of those after credit scenes were really interesting at the end of that movie, like where they're talking about the Ten Rings being like, you know, the oldest thing in the universe or some shit, or the oldest thing that they have record of, and you know, they're being tracked, and I don't know if it was like a hint to Galactus or something like that, but it's like something is coming from deep space to get the rings. Like it's like, whoa, that sounds important. That sounds like we should
Yeah.
know more about that.
Oh yeah.
By now, it's been 3 years and we still don't know what the hell's going on. Like same with like the Eternals and stuff like that. Like I understand they've canceled the second film, which I think personally is a mistake. I like the first one, and I
Mhm.
think there's definitely more story to be told there. I'll be happy if they bring some of those characters back and just bring them into the Avengers or do something with them on Battle World or something like that. Like make them bring them into Secret Wars, do something with them anyway. Um, or like have an X Men. I think I read somewhere during the week that they were in talks of doing like a Judgment Day thing. It would the recent comic book where the Eternals were going to try and wipe out the X Men because they're technically deviants. So it's like
Mhm.
the Eternals are wired to take them out. I think that might be a cool way of introducing them during the Mutant Saga or something like that. But I don't know, like again, like so many unanswered questions at the end of that movie. Like we technically got Blade at the end of that film as well.
Right.
with Black Knight, and it's like again, there's been nothing done with any of that. It's a weird time, man. I just feel like none of these projects are connected whatsoever. I've even seen like memes and kind of jokes about it, like putting up pictures of like White Vision and Blade and Black Knight and all the thing. And it's like, why are these guys? What are they all doing? Like, we don't know. Like, we haven't got a fucking clue. And it's true. Like, obviously, memes are created for a reason. Like, there's truth behind them, obviously, and
Hmm.
it's it's a very valid question. Like, and I don't see people talking about Shang-Chi at all. And it's like, where the hell is he? You know,
And I hear nothing about him.
it's bizarre. It really is. And like, I really hope that whatever, like maybe we hear about him in this movie or something. I don't know, but that'd be a very well kept secret if he was to pop up next month.
I know, right?
I'd be very shocked, and that'd be great. Like if he just popped into that film somehow, I'd be really over the moon. Like because I'd just be like, oh,